Good morning and welcome to Walk Before You Run. Today, I want to talk about the beauty of the strength within. We're going to have our final look at the book of Ruth. Now, um, the word or the name Boaz means strength is within him, and the name Ruth means companion, friend, or vision of beauty. And so, because in chapter 4, Boaz redeems the inheritance, which is the land that belonged to Malon and his wife, and the inheritance for Naomi. I decided that we would just call this look at Ruth, the beauty of the strength within. Now, last time we talked about near kinsmen. And I wanted to share with you that in the days of the judges, near kinsman had two obligations of the Hebrews. One, he had to redeem family property that had either been sold or was going to be sold. And he also was to marry the widow and raise up children um, to their name, to whoever that deceased person's name that is in the family is. Now, Boaz wanted to honor that, but he was not the nearest kinsman. And so, chapter 4 takes us to him approaching that near kinsman to um, see what he wanted to do. Because although Boaz wanted to marry Ruth, that was not his right unless it was given to him by the nearest kinsman. And last time, remember, Naomi told Ruth to go and have Boaz cover her when he got ready to go to sleep. Now, what she told her to do was a part of the social norm of that time. And what it meant was that he was pledging marriage to her. So she was to go and try and get a pledge of marriage for herself. And so that spread thy skirt over thy handmaid is a pledge of marriage. So Boaz goes to the city center, which is the place of legal matters. And the kinsman shows up. And when you follow what God is telling you to do and you're doing what's right, things will just come together. The world says the universe comes together. But when you're doing what's right, God will bring things together so that they work out for the good. Verse 1 says, Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one. And that just means, hey, come over here, I want to talk to you. It goes on to say that he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they sat down. So he's getting some witnesses to hear this legal matter that he is getting ready to take care of. Verse 3 says, And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech, who was Naomi's husband. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. Then said Boaz, What day thou buyest the fields of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now, when Boaz was saying, hey, there's this parcel of land that was sold, and it originally belonged to our kinsman Elimelech. That kinsman was like, sure, yeah, some land, some property, yeah, I buy that. That's, more money, more money, more money. But then Boaz went on to say, and also there is this young widow that is the daughter-in-law of Naomi, when you take this parcel of land, you need to also marry her so that you can raise up an heir for her dead husband. Then he was like, oh, no, I'm not interested. I don't want that. He didn't want to do that because then he was thinking about something that he's going to pay money for, something that he's going to do is going to go to somebody else in their name, and it's not going to be mine to give to my children. Oh, no, I'm not interested in that. Look at verse 7. Now, this was the manner in former times in Israel, concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. So this was like the proverbial handshake. This sealed the deal. Therefore, the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren and from the gate of his place. Ye are witnesses this day. So Boaz wanted to have a witness that he was doing everything above board and everything in the right way. And when the kinsman would do the shoe exchange, this not only said, okay, the deal is sealed, but it also prevents any shame to go on anybody, any shame to be on Ruth or Naomi or Boaz or the kinsman. He was so selfishly thinking about mine, 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 that he missed out on a bigger blessing that God had in store. And so, although Boaz was already a well-to-do man, we are still talking about Boaz thousands of years later because he wanted to do what was right. And he wanted to honor both Naomi, Ruth, but not only them, but also he wanted to honor God. And so he did things the right way. And so we are still talking about him today. But that kinsman, we didn't know his name at the beginning of the narrative, and we still don't know his name because he chose to be selfish. And sometimes when you are selfish like that and you're conceited, self-centered, and not thinking about others or the bigger picture of what God would want, you find yourself left out. Not just left out of history, but left out of a blessing because Boaz was blessed. Boaz was blessed, and so was Naomi. So, because the kinsman had no desire to redeem, he was left out. Let's keep reading. Verse 11 says, and all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is coming to thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephratah, and be famous in Bethlehem. Now, he was not just famous in Bethlehem. They were not just famous in Bethlehem. We are still talking about them today in a whole nother continent. God is awesome. He will honor those who honor him. So let's keep reading. It says, and let thy house be like the house of Pharez, who whom Tamar bare unto Judah, of the seed which the Lord shall give thee of this young woman. God is going to bless Boaz. He's an older guy. God is getting ready to bless him mightily, because when it said, like the house of Rachel and Leah, we still talk about the children of Israel. And so we are still talking about the children of Boaz. And I'm going to tell you who that child of Boaz is in just a minute. But everything was done according to law and custom. And there were witnesses, the people and the elders declared a blessing on the house of Boaz because of his and her kindness and their heart of God to do what was right. Their faithfulness caused them to conceive Obed. I am going to read on. Verse 13 says, so Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the woman said unto Naomi, blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. So two women are being blessed with one birth, one child. Naomi is being blessed because she was a widow indeed. She had no children, she had no husband, and she was a little up in age because her children were older. They were not babies when they died. And so then also Ruth was blessed. Ruth had been married to Mahlon for a while, but they did not conceive. And that's because God had a bigger, better plan for her life. And sometimes when we go through some hard things in life, we feel like, oh God, why me? But we will need to learn to not look at everything that way. Sometimes just look and say, have your way, Lord, because I know you have something better in mind for me than I had in mind for myself. That's okay, love. Good morning. And so, we have to be like Ruth. Ruth could have done just like her sister-in-law did in the beginning and just turned around and went back to something that she knew, because her sister-in-law went back to the known. She knew the false gods that they were worshiping in Moab. She knew the people of Moab. She knew her home that was familiar to her. But sometimes we're going to have to be like Ruth and step out on faith, going into the unknown, because we are trusting the God of all. And so we're going to have to learn how to trust like Ruth, trust like Naomi, and walk out on blind faith, trusting that God is going to take care of whatever. Be like the old song that said, be not dismayed, whatever betide, God will take care of you. So no matter what's coming your way, we have to trust that God's going to take care of me no matter what. And that's what Ruth was thinking. And God did just that. He not only blessed her, think about it. Mahlon was in another country, so he didn't have a whole bunch of whatever it was that you would have that would make you well off, in Moab. And so perhaps Mahlon just had the bare minimum to be able to take care of his wife. And maybe they were doing like we call living paycheck to paycheck. And obviously, Ruth was not a complainer, because she stayed and she was there, and we have nowhere recorded that she was a complainer. So when you are content with what you have, whatever state you find yourself in, and you are grateful and you are faithful, God will bless you above and beyond anything you can imagine. And that's what he did with Ruth. Remember when we talked about Ruth before, we talked about her going into Boaz's fields, following the instructions of her mother-in-law, just trying to make sure that, they could make ends meet, just getting enough for them to eat, enough for them to survive off of. And then following her mother-in-law again, remember we talked about wise counsel, and her mother-in-law said, "Go and have Boaz to lay his garment across you in this promise to marry." And she followed that, even though that was kind of iffy for her. She didn't know what might happen. He might have turned against her. She didn't know, but she was following some wise counsel because Naomi knew that that was a custom of her time and of her people. And so she followed her and did what she said do, because she said, "Remember, your God is going to be my God, and I'm going to follow you wherever." And so God blessed her for that. So out of this marriage, both those two women were blessed with that child. That one child satisfied both those women. Verse 15 says, "And he shall," talking about this baby that she just had, "he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life." And that was, they're talking to Naomi. "And a nourisher of thine old age. For thou daughter in law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him." Now that's saying a lot about Ruth. These ladies in this town are saying that Naomi is blessed because she has Ruth as a daughter in law, and saying that she's better to her than 7 sons, which says that she's going to be well taken care of. You know, she, even if she had 7 sons, she'd be taken care of. But these ladies are singing the praises, saying that this woman, Ruth, is better than a bunch of sons, because Ruth is doing what it takes to take care of her mother in law. And not only is Ruth doing what she can do, then Boaz was doing what he could do. And then God blessed that faithfulness, blessed that obedience. And so now Naomi has a child who is going to be there for her in her old age and take care of her, and that is Obed. 16 says, "Naomi took the child and laid it in her bosom and became nurse unto it." Now, Naomi is not a spring chicken, and she is not in her roaring 20s. She's not even in her 30s. But it says that she took that baby and nursed her. So God can do the impossible, or what seems impossible. And 17 says, "The women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi. And they called his name Obed. And Obed is the father of Jesse. And Jesse is the father of David, King David." And the rest just gives you some information about the lineage, going back some generations and then going forward some generations. But I just wanted to talk about, that beauty of that strength within. Boaz had a strength within, but Boaz wasn't the only one. Although his name means strength within, Boaz was not the only one with some strength. Naomi's daughter-in-law, Ruth, had some strength, and so did Miss Naomi. So thank you for joining me today for Walk Before You Run. This Ruth is just a beautiful lesson on obedience and seeking wise counsel, and allowing God to be that strength within. If we are faithful and obedient, God will do what no man can do for you. He will bless you when you think there are no blessings left. So, thank you for joining me this morning for Walk Before You Run. Remember to walk through the Word of God before you run out and enjoy your day, or before you run out and do anything, especially before you run out and try to go and do His will, because you can't do His will if you don't know what it is. And the only way to know what it is if you walk in His Word. I'll see you next time. Remember, always, always remember that you are blessed to be a blessing. Thank you for joining me today, and especially thank you for joining me, my friend. um,